So how do you make peace with people who, by and large, refuse to accept the existence of Israel? My position is, this is not our question to answer. If it were in our power, if it was down to what we want, then the civil conflict in British Palestine would never have started. Even if it had, even if partition had been rejected, we would have made peace after the first Arab-Israeli conflict. Look at the newspapers. We as Jews do not get to decide when we are accepted. In September of 2000, I was in the West Bank. I was doing some business in Ramallah, in Jericho, in Bethlehem. This was weeks, days before the outbreak of the Second Intifada. So if I'm going to look at the two states situation, what I want to do is start with the reasons for Oslo's failure. Before Oslo, right and left wing in Israel were clearly defined. It was an argument over land for peace. But as Oslo disintegrated, people began to lose faith in the process itself. What this means is that opposition to the two-state solution isn't embedded in the right-left political spectrum. Oslo becomes a faith. This in turn has led to a massive misunderstanding and misrepresentation of Israel's position. You can want to make peace. You can not want to rule over another people. You can even be willing to give up some land, but simply not believe in the process. Oslo was a semi-negotiated process that ended in a deliberate outbreak of violence. Oslo attempted to unwrap a parcel from the inside out. It used a kick-the-can-down-the-road approach with every issue it believed to be problematic. It thought that simply by picking at the low-hanging fruit, everything would work out okay. Oslo was an exercise in naivety. What I want to do, I want to go to in the late 1930s. This is a central problem as far as I see it. The Arabs inside the Mandate area were no longer in control of themselves. They had no leaders. They were dictated to from without. Between 1949 and 1967, this power was consolidated in the Arab regional capitals outside of the West Bank and Gaza. A nationalism, an artificial nationalism, was created within the camps of Syria and Lebanon. This could not be done in Gaza and the West Bank because these were mandate lands already in Arab hands. So what you have is a nationalism outside of the conflict zone, focusing specifically on pre-1967 Israel that doesn't really care about either the West Bank or Gaza. This creates a self-defeating absurdity where those on the outside dictate to those on the inside, and those on the inside paid an ever-increasing price for those demands. In 1990, when Israel wanted to start negotiating with the Arabs of Ramallah, the Arabs of Ramallah turned to Arafat in Tunis. This is a nationalism that sees Gaza and the West Bank as pawns to be used in search of the greater prize. So whatever you give it, it will turn round and throw it back at you. If you bring over Arafat and say, let's sit down, let's create a process built around mutual recognition, you will end up with bus bombs throughout Israel. If you pull out of Gaza and dismantle your settlements, you will get rockets fired over all your major cities. You know, a couple of months ago, I was in SOAS, and I was at an anti-Zionist event there, and I was talking to a student. She was British born, and she had a British passport. I asked her about her parents, and she said her parents were born in Pakistan. This girl had described herself as a Palestinian refugee. A couple of months before, I was in Exeter at an anti-Zionist conference there, where I heard another student, another Palestinian refugee, also with a British passport, also British-born. A few weeks ago, I was at Birkbeck, where I heard a student, she's a lecturer, talk about an evening she had held, a dinner event. There were 12 people sat around the table. All of them were Palestinian refugees. All had different passports. Some of them didn't even speak Arabic. Half of the Palestinian refugees are Jordanian citizens. Many already live within the PA areas. Children are being born today in Lebanon to parents and grandparents who were also born in Lebanon. These too are Palestinian refugees. Others are spread throughout the world. Syria is a refugee crisis. The Palestinian refugee was forged as a weapon. It was created as an artificial entity inside a paradigm of no to normalization, and it cannot exist outside of that paradigm. It will do everything it can to stop any type of settlement. And today, as demographics have changed in the West, this weapon has taken up camp here too. Today, it spearheads BDS, yet another external movement that does not care about the well-being of the people inside Gaza or the West Bank. So, if not now, then when? You will never solve anything until you stop the dripping poison from entering the wound. First the refugees, then everything else. Unwrap this parcel from the outside in. This is not a two-state solution. It's about 2 stages. You tell those British girls that they're British. You tell the Jordanians that they're Jordanian. You scrap the ridiculous definition of a Palestinian refugee. You dismantle UNRWA, and you tell Lebanon that after 70 years, it is about time it stopped abusing the human rights of those people born within its borders. Taking an addict and feeding his addiction and his delusion simply because everybody is too scared to tell them the truth, it is abuse. Working to solve or to help or to assist the situation of refugees in places like Lebanon is a humanitarian cause. Kicking the can down the road only ensures that the conflict continues and everyone remains trapped, caught in a perpetual catch-22 with those on the outside working to permanently toxify the environment. If you insist on permitting the artificially sustained and hate-infested desires of those on the outside to dictate the terms of the discussions between the Jews of Jerusalem and the Arabs of Ramallah, you will always exist in a deteriorating environment with no chance at all of any type of settlement. So, if I am asked, will I support some empty, worthless idea that rejects reality and simply wants to kick the can down the road, my answer is simple. No, I will not.